Beloved star, welcome to Immortal Starlight Pod episode 44. And for this one, I would love to record and share with you the chapter 2 of the Silver Wheel and this beautiful guide to really perceiving, to lifting the veil on what is occurring with this monumental shift, this time that we are within of our ascension, our return, and our movement into this higher vibrational octave upon this earth. And may this beautiful wisdom echo forth as a prayer of peace through all the realms as I read. And this chapter 2, I have long loved. It's contains some of the really beautiful core teachings of this book of light that I was gifted so many years ago, published 7 years ago, but it was 10 years in flowing through at least. And so, I shall read and share this. And if you're watching the pod on YouTube, I'll also share with you the glyph. You'll see this here. And so the words of this beautiful chapter and the second glyph, the second wave of wisdom of this book of Starlight. So here it is. It was received, the wisdom, as a sequence of 13 glyphs, and this the second. And everything that I read as I read this is, if you like, encoded, held, packaged within that form of light, and then gifted itself to me in consciousness as I listened to what was held within this. And so the second teaching is the Silver Wheel, the lost teachings of the Deerskin book. This is the second teaching of the Deerskin book. The new earth is built of starlight. It is by awareness of this starlight that we transform. Chapter 2. Lavender fires tree formed, 1,000 leaves of white, moonstone hollow lights dancing, ambers of an old language, a lost tribe. Follow the path of the tree. The blueprint of the new earth is an ethereal medicine wheel brought here by the angelic elders. It is moving gradually into our world, weaving itself into our ordinary reality. It is powerful and delicate, magnetized into existence by our own depth of spiritual intention and the hidden treasury of our wisdom. By the honoring of our spiritual vows, we ourselves become the miracle of a subtle and courageous perception. It falls into the atmospheres of our world like a shawl of finely wrought stars. It falls around our shoulders, cloaking us with a new dawn. There is still much to be told, and this is essentially a tale of love. It is the great love story. It is the story behind all stories, the one that we yearn for. And so when I tell you that the new reality we are entering is woven of starlight, your heart soars, even if your mind does not understand what it means. There is much to be said about this, and yet in that moment when the heart soars, everything I am saying is known. Everything is recognized. We know what adventure is written within us. And we are so relieved to hear it is recognized and affirmed. We do not always feel worthy of this great adventure. We can feel overwhelmed by our own guilt and suffering. We can feel that for us redemption is not possible. These glimpses of the stars shall remain always just that, glimpses. But let me tell you that this is not so. That it is possible to move into a different sphere of existence altogether, and that this is the hour of that transformation. I have said much about our natural inheritance, about the birth of what is already always ours. This is the key and the heart of my message. I am not discussing separate realms of spirituality and religion. I am discussing this as our natural progression, our evolution and inheritance. It is what happens. We do not have to step outside ourselves to cultivate this. We do not have to change who we are. We do not have to become other than human. And yet, I tell you, the new reality is woven of starlight. And what does this mean? We understand by going backwards and understanding the ancient essence of Earth. The Earth is formed by the collaboration of many galaxies, many stars, many solar systems that have all offered their own totemic wisdom and dimensions to her matrix. At her very core, she is a resonating sphere of interdimensional influences. This knowledge is contained in her crystals, in her underground waters and inner fires. Her interdimensional, intergalactic origin breathes its inspiration through ocean, mountain, tree, and her many organic life forms. By our own physical vehicles, we are interconnected with this sphere of origination. As we undergo cellular clearing, we rediscover this in awareness. It is accessible by direct perception. Yet, for the last aeon, by the movement of cosmic forces, the Earth has been shuttered from ongoing inspiration and direct contact with the other dimensional stars and galaxies that seeded her beginnings. Especially the intergalactic starlights have not been accessible. Yet now she moves back into synchronized alignment with these outermost spheres of her own creative essence. Her original dream can flourish once more, expanding its potentials. Her innermost crystals are humming with this renewed contact, and many an ancient dream is awoken. This is happening within us also. It is unique in its influence for every one of us, as our innermost hidden dreams are activated and become visible in the outer world. There is no longer a divide between our dreams and our actions. As we open ourselves to the descending starlight, it activates the hidden codes of light within. Our world is no longer woven out of a fabric that obscures the true nature of reality. We become starlight. We become the carriers of a radical beauty, a shining of interior distances that invoke the sense of the infinite. The ever-receding expanse of the night sky becomes intrinsic, no longer out there and far away, but something we experience within ourselves, within our immediate world. The stars are symbols in themselves. They represent our awareness of what lies beyond ourselves, of spheres beyond our own. They evoke wonder and inspire hope. Hope in a purity and a vastness that encompasses in great cycles of light the smallness of our world. Yet the stars are not out there. Our world is not small. It is full of the infinite expansion and transparency, the great clarities we see out there. You shall be taught the old ways, the rituals and practices of attunement to the stars. They shall fall to you as inspiration in the night, in your dreams, in flashes of awareness. They shall travel through the pathways of your light body, sounding their message that you intrinsically understand, that needs no interpretation. These are the Lemurian communications, the communication of old gifts and tools that have been inaccessible in this last age. Their last appearance upon Earth as a natural inheritance of starlight messages has been preserved by people such as the Tibetans and Native Americans, by the tribal indigenous peoples all over the world. They have maintained and preserved these forms in their spiritual teachings and practices. Yet the wholesale practice of natural illumination has not been available to human awareness. The fact that this is universal without boundaries or rules, priests or training. The fact that our nature is naturally, intrinsically spiritual and receptive to the messages of the stars. This is knowledge that has not been available to the conscious mind. And so we have felt that we needed training and indoctrination to preserve our awareness of our spiritual nature. This last age has been an hour of survival, when the main teaching has been of compassion, of unconditional love for one another. For this needed to be maintained above all things. The heart is the center and the jewel of the lost temples. Without it, we are starlight without compassion, a beauty cold and bright, pristine spiritual energy perhaps, but wandering far from the heart. Our hearts are what make this world of starlight blossom. They are what makes the soundlight prayers meaningful. But our hearts are prepared. We trust ourselves and our capacity to love. We must trust this innocence within ourselves that is the seat of all wonder and curiosity, all non-judgment and the willingness to learn. This is us. This is already ours. This is our receptivity. This is our readiness. It is what enables us to be beacons, gathering places for others to remember who they are. Every evolving frequency must come through the portal of the heart. Every remembrance is tested here for its goodness. I am writing of starlight. I am writing of memories, of ways of being that shall stir in your blood. They already are received as flashes of light and sound and image, cascading into your awareness and blessing your existence with a new dawn. Do not be afraid. Do not fear for your own sanity. You are not delusional, and you carry the jewel of the heart in which every teaching, every inspiration can be tested. Does this do harm to others? You may ask yourself. If you are honest, you will see that it does not. These are the actions of a crazy innocence, which is not yet naivety, but remembrance of your own native wisdom. It is not naive to surrender to our wisdom. It is not naive to surrender to the messages of interconnectivity. Use the tools that have been given to you. Use the practices that arrive as though gifted by angels. You cannot hesitate and persist in the trust of your distrust. This only creates a pause, an attempt at control that limits your evolution and your experience. You do not know where these things will lead. This cannot be predetermined by the mind. We can, however, ask the heart. Ask, what shall I learn from this? Your heart is your jewel, your sounding board for the pathway unfolding beneath your feet. There is the exquisite sense of opening up to more than you ever thought you were, to wondrous realms that always seemed, if they appeared at all, so very out there somewhere. Instead, you discover that they are a part of yourself, that they are the very narrative and story of your life. They are yourself in the most intimate, daily sense. The communication never ceases. There is no boundary that prevents their touch. This new reality is woven of starlight. The stars are no longer distant companions. They are our own inner distance and potential, the vast reaches of intention and consciousness that we ourselves contain. And by this, the earth also is liberated from this spell of separation and materialism we have placed upon her. She can with us evolve into her own starlight dimension, become her own infinite self, become the crystal fields of her dreaming. She holds the imprint and the memories of aeons. She remembers connection and disconnection. She remembers her own wild expansion in a time when her caretakers were attuned to this possibility. These are the dreams of the Shining Ones for the earth. These are the intentions of the rocks and the flowers and the trees. They hold nothing back. They do not withdraw from their great listening. That is also their growth and their evolution. This is the script of the Deerskin book, written in the inks of the sun and the moon. We must not forget how long this has been held to be true. Our skepticism is a blink of the eye, a brief turning away. We are drawn into cycles of connection and understanding so much greater than our forgetting. It is the return to that which is so deeply familiar to us. The standing stones remind us of what has been, and the constellations of energy in places such as Avalon make it impossible for us to forget this greater dawn. It is confusing when we speak of past and future, of ancient things and of what is to come. We have no historical record for such an understanding of human consciousness. Only consciousness itself keeps the record, the indelible script of truth. This ancientness and this future are in truth like a great and inclusive circle of consciousness, from which our modern awareness is a diminishment, a falling away. There is no Lemurian era in the crude historical sense. History as we know it is linear, materialistic, and anthropocentric. It is a creation of the mind and prone to changeableness and impermanence, vanishing under the historian's scrutiny the closer they look. I speak of a past that belongs to the soul, that belongs to the record of consciousness, the journey of that which we are. The earth also contains this record. She has been our companion in this exploration, in these cycles of starlight metamorphosis. We shall dream ourselves differently. We are already dreaming ourselves differently. And then it shall be as though we passed into another universe, and this last emanation shall be as a myth, a fragrant memory, as unsubstantiated as those other dreams are to us now, yet dwelling in the records of our hearts and minds. Does the butterfly remember her life as the caterpillar? It is not easy for her even to conceive of it clearly with her conscious mind. So deeply has the very fabric of her being altered, so that she has quite a different makeup and cannot, within the remits of this, think that past. Our thoughts are made out of our being, and when our being alters, it is hard even for us to think that which we were. It has passed. It has had its season. And such is the metamorphosis of which we are now a part. We begin to think differently. We begin to sense differently. New information is accessible to us, that which reflects our progression. We return to capacities that have already been available to us, that reflect a greater totality of experience. The earth has lived many ages that go unrecorded in the history of humanity. Layered within the earth are memories of highly evolved galactic and intergalactic civilizations, among them Lemuria and Atlantis. These were founded by beings from the stars, who came to experience this shimmering interweaving of dimensions that we know as Earth. They are offering their wisdom at this time. They are the lost dimensions and shining ones that are being restored to consciousness. We ourselves are these beings, these lost dimensions reborn in the present. We discover ourselves and we discover the ancient companionship of the wise shining ones who still hold an exceptional love for this planet. With these strands of inspiration, we are able to weave an alternative path of evolution that gives us a future of peace and of beauty. This is our Lemurian and Atlantean heritage, the resumption of the starlit frequencies we have already known. We have resources in these realms. We have abilities that offer themselves to be explored. This is the next unfolding of the flower. We accept the gift of becoming who we are, and we do not fear our own perception, our own remembrance. We are afraid that if we open up our perception, if we sit without distraction, that we will fall into a void, an emptiness. We are afraid of an abyss that might exist beyond the confines of our distractions. We do not realize that it is the angelic gift of our deepest happiness that is offering itself. It has been so long since we truly believed in happiness, since we remembered why we came to this earth. Part of us wishes to pass the days simply as painlessly as possible. This avoidance of pain is not the same as true happiness. Happiness is a world of meaningfulness, within and without us. It is an order that offers itself a narrative and a sequence, a story inspired by the angels, inspired by our own divine purpose. It is not our nothingness we shall find beyond our distractions. It is our own wisdom, waiting to fall to us, waiting to be heard. It is the sapphire and silver of vast communication systems and the surrender to their inscription within our lives. This brings me to artistic inspiration and its place in our lives. How else do we make the unseen visible? How else do we communicate these messages of starlight but through the work of our hands and our heart? We work through the medium in which we are gifted. We let it become the vehicle of this path of evolution. Artistic expression has the power to incarnate the future. This is the power and danger of art, of the powers to craft and to make. We are empowered beyond all our understanding, and this we fear and long for in equal measure, but it never quite leaves us alone. Part of consciousness longs to return into the past of its own powerlessness and forgetfulness. It wishes to perpetuate this past era when the veil descended and we could only follow pre-existing inscriptions. There are many prayers that have sounded through these ages, many dances of peace and enlightenment, and we have been implicated in all of this. We are the hands and the heart. You are the heart that has never abandoned itself, and the trace of all the ages is written through you. The great cycles are your breath and your blood. You are the one driving the wheel of all this cosmic awareness, a pivot and an attraction point for all its dazzling actuality and potentiality. I say to you, there are no divisions. There is only the fluidity with which we move, the grace with which we manifest this dance of our evolution. So nothing is to be regretted, nothing is to be disowned. Only wait for the petals that emerge from the soil of changes. Wait to see what ravishing expression is your inheritance. It is held now as an inner pattern and potential grown by starlight, by the moon and by the sun, our very own star that offers us this gold of transformation. This is a meditation I recommend for every day to nourish yourself with the inner light of the rising sun, to fire yourself with the morning radiance, welcomed as a benediction and a blessing upon yourself. We live in an age that calls itself dark, and we witness the storm of changes, the darkness of negativity and the eclipse of the soul. Yet, truly, there is also a great dawn arising from within us, from within our sun and stars and earth. We cannot wait to be told about these changes, but let their arising light manifest through us. This is the meditation of the sun, of the rising sun. We turn ourselves towards this resurrection, this inner knowledge of a beginning, a true vitality amidst all which passes away. We do not need to live in an apocalyptic consciousness. We do not need to associate with all that departs and passes and the great winds that send it on its way. We acknowledge that these things occur. We do not deny their reality, but we know how to distinguish that which is dying from that which lives and breathes, that which is born. This is the gift of our star, the sun. Through its radiance, we are acclimatized to a golden dawn. By offering this to ourselves as a medicine each morning, by drinking it into our light bodies, we send a message to the universe. We give the message that we are ready for this metamorphosis and that we are entering the starlit dimension of the Earth's new manifestation. The very matrix of our physical cells is shifting. In this, the crystals are excellent guides. The crystals have maintained their original inspiration. They have followed it without distraction, programmed with the elder codes that are now awakening within us. Crystals form according to an orderly atomic arrangement and an exact chemical composition. It is a good example to us of how we might grow if we maintain our listening to Starlight inspiration and allow this evolvement within ourselves from moment to moment. We are stimulated to find our original codes of light, to release everything that obscures these. We begin to grow in the manner of crystals, by soul guidance of our original template, discarding anything that does not serve this inner coherence and integrity. Once again, our other dimensional codes become physical. Highly evolved qualities begin to manifest in a practical manner with greater and greater frequency. Much that is worthwhile learning is encoded in the crystalline ground of Earth. It is into this that we may delve for the trackways of a deeply beautiful future. I am talking about a direct vibrational listening to the individual crystals rather than the assimilation of external knowledge about them. To receive the Starlight transmissions, we must make this shift from learning with our minds to learning through vibrational listening with our bodies and hearts. In this way, we receive direct rather than reported knowledge. We wonder what we think of channeled writing, of the idea that there can be guidance from another dimension. We wonder about its value. Even say we accepted the existence of other realms, where is the benefit of effacing our own voice, heart, and experience for those of another? That is to take a narrow view of our destiny and experience. We do not come from this experience only. There is so much more that precedes this. A vast iceberg of consciousness that underlies the tip of that which we identify as ourselves. To allow this wider communion is no effacement. It is no loss of the personal. We merely allow ourselves to give full expression to the miracle that we are. We allow the far realms of ourselves to speak, and perhaps these are the voices we most need. Perhaps we need these even as we need the crystals, as manifestations of our greater wholeness. Perhaps we need them even as we need the sunlight of our own star. This is the Deerskin book. It is by this that I am uncovered. It is by this that my truth is told. It is made from sunlight and starlight. It is a transformation from one thing to another. And so this is the second teaching. The world we are becoming is built of starlight. Its foundation blocks are a dream, an essence, an inhalation. It is built of this reception of light that transforms the seed to flower. It was my destiny to transcribe these things and to follow the passage of the deer through the forest, through all the ages, and bring it here into your hands to be read. This is the becoming of the dream, the way that it weaves itself with unconscionable beauty, despite all our attempts to thwart it. I have stood in my own way 1,000 times, and yet it has not prevented what comes to pass. Still the crystals attain transparency. This is remorseless power. This is the elemental intensity of earth, of sun, of stars. I had to transcribe these things, and in the end I had to do it with no knowledge of them. And this is how it is for the flower that blossoms. She must become that which is written so close to her own heart, that for her there are no directions, only a becoming, pulled along by the beauty of the light transmission within her. You may think I am joking when I say that I do not know what I am going to write, but this is how it is for the crystals and the flowers, for created things that trust in great mystery. You who read this are the dawn keeper. You are my companion of the aeons, one who has travelled so far to preserve the ancient wisdom. I honour your dedication. I honour your awareness that makes it possible for these words to fall onto the page, for without you they could not even be spoken. Without you, these ancient Lemurian practices, as encoded in the teachings of the Deerskin book, would never see the light of day. I am walking in the forest, beside the dragon waters. The sound of drums is borne on the wind. I leave the river trail and branch off between the trees, following the sound. It becomes louder and louder, until finally, deep in the forest, in a hollow sweep, a mound rises up before me. There are figures dancing all around it. The mound is traced with white quartz, the outlines of the deer paths. Sitting under the trees are the drummers. Butterfly wings of crimson, amber, amethyst, and emerald mark the faces of the drummers, and their hands fly white like wings. And I can feel that all the paths of heaven and earth lead out from this ground, evoked by their ceremony. They dance around the mound barefoot, the worn soles of their feet, etched with the branches of the deer paths, thump the ground as they dance, and under the trees around the edges of the circle sit the elders who beat the butterfly drums. White skirts brush the ground. Caught into the rhythm of the drums, I begin to dance. I follow the other dancers in their sweeping movements, around the mound, circling its flanks. I am barefoot also, my soles darkened with earth. The dancers are spinning golden lines with their movements, connecting the deer paths that thread the forest and the far lands. By this ceremony, the old paths are connected, one with another, and made of fire with the life of the universe. As I dance, I too am drawing together these etheric threads. They interlink to form a tapering dome of golden topaz. It is an unfurling architecture of the topaz realm of distance and presence. It gives boundaries to consciousness, a dome woven to cover the infinite sky. I wait for a sign, announcing that the hour has come and the vision is complete. We dance through the hazy, beautiful butterfly corridors, topaz wanderings, all meanings dance, all possibilities hang with equal weight. There is a doorway opening up within the mound. I find myself standing before the entrance, my feet bare on the cold grass. The other dancers have gathered about me, their white skirts brushing the ground, their bodies humming with the song of the deer paths. An elder sits atop the mound. There are white spirals etched upon her brow. The blue ethereal star of her gaze meets mine. She wears an embroidered shawl. I feel that she holds the innermost trail of all the deer paths. She is the immortal trail of Moonstone, the one that curves its way into the hollow hill. It is by her permission that one enters the mound. Any doubt I had about my own presence in this place has vanished. I feel a certainty that I am to go within the mound. It is for this that I followed the drums. The elder rises on graceful feet, and picking up a staff that lies at her side, she walks toward me. Her slanting moonstone eyes stare into mine as she comes to stand before me. She touches my brow with the crystal at the tip of her staff. A dragon lies sleeping within this mound. She has slept for many a long age. But you shall need her guidance to open the amethyst gates. You have to follow her into her dreams. It is not easy to walk into the sleep of a dragon. She is still bound to the dragon elders, those who rode with her in the elven days of Lemuria. She is caught in the ancient bond. Nothing has come to replace this. A faint rain begins to fall. There is a rising mist swirling into the hollow. I am sent off, and the white butterfly dancers await, watching at the entrance to the mound. I pass out of the moonlit mists, into the darkness, the cold damp of the chamber. The elder stands with her staff at the doorway, shedding the illumination of her moonstone presence. Take this, she calls, and hands me her staff. Thump it to the ground, and it will shed light. I take the staff of pale weathered willow and thump it firmly to the ground. The lower third of the staff lights up, and I see that it is crafted of yellow topaz bound to the willow. At the top of the staff, a moonstone, shaped like a closed bud, gives off a wan and iridescent glow. Its weight is reassuring. I turn into the darkness, surrendering to the skyless corridors. I tap my way along the corridors of stone and packed earth. My progress reverberates through the enclosed space. I feel how the corridor curves along the outer rim of the mound, and then begins to spiral inward, the corridor becoming ever more tightly curved. I am enmeshed in the cold darkness. Forward and behind it closes around me. The darkness is pungent. I walk in the dim sphere of the staff's topaz glow, and there is the moonstone that lights nothing around it, yet offers a companionship and a reminder of the elder who has awakened this ancient path. I know that despite the pressing chill, there is a permission to have entered this place, and that I am not unwelcome. I come to the final curve in the path, and then there is a sudden waft of cold in my face, as a wider chamber opens out around me, and I know that I have arrived at the central chamber of the mound. As I stand still for a long moment, The illumination from the topaz wanes and goes out. With only the moonstone for light, I pause in the blackness. There is a sudden intensification of atmosphere. My breath comes shallow as my chest tightens and I grip the staff temporarily, unbalanced. In the darkness, I can hear the breath of the sleeping dragon. I can feel the lodestone of her mind that hits me in a sudden wave. Even asleep, her consciousness hangs in the space, hypnotic and elemental. Swaying slightly on my feet, I thump the topaz staff to the ground and hold forth its illumination to discover where the body of the dragon lies. I can feel that somewhere at the edge of her consciousness, she is aware of my presence. The soft beam of topaz sweeps the space, and there is a gleaming coil of the dragon. Just yards from where I stand, she is long, narrow, and lithe. Her ears are folded back, her eyes closed. I crouch down and go forward on my hands and knees towards her. I lay down the staff and reach out my hand to touch her scaled neck. My hand slides on her glassy, armoured surface across the ridges of the scales. Tell me where you are, and I shall find you, I whisper to her. Once again the beam of topaz ebbs and fades, and I am left sitting with the dragon in the pitch darkness. I close my eyes and wait. I feel like a butterfly hovering at the edge of her vast mind. Suddenly I am pulled as if into a current. I see the cavern through her dreaming eyes. It is no longer plain earth, its walls are carved of craggy amethyst. A haunting chant wells up, echoing through the acoustic of the cavern. It is sung by a high, fine voice. There is a golden-haired figure. She is chanting in the old language, and I find that I understand her words. There will be a long age of darkness now, and the dimensions in which we have flown will remain unridden, unlit. It will be as if we never were. Sleep, dream, and some will remember the trace of your flight in the skies. They will come again, those who can harness your great power for the golden hope of this world. You know what this planet is. You know of the elders, of the times that have been and that will come again. You shall witness the golden dawn, the arising of our light once more. There is an air of incredible sadness, as though something of great beauty is being stored away in the shadows, still mourning for the way it has been. The dragon floats in this exquisite and melancholy dream, hanging on to the beloved memory. I approach the dragon elder. It is time, I find myself saying to her, my voice soft. It is time to open the amethyst gates, and for dragons once again to ride the skies. She turns and looks at me, her eyes fathomless. Her skin is pale, and she wears a gown of dark violet that sweeps to the cavern floor. I can see her pain and her love for the dragon. They are bound, the two of them, as one heart. Yes, she says, it is time. Her eyes turn once more upon the dragon, and she kneels down, resting her head against the scaled flank. There is silence between us. I am holding the staff, standing awkwardly to one side. I can feel that her spirit is searching for a way to depart, a way to leave the dream. Her service is to the dawn, to the awakening of all tomorrows. She is one of the dragon elders, one who has served the earth for long aeons. She calls to the dragon in the chanted speech of the old language. You shall awaken. The time has come. I shall be here always, if you need to remember the ways of the dragon elders. She retreats to stand beside the amethyst wall. It is time to awaken. I find myself reeling away from the dragon's dream into the darkened cavern of stone and earth. I am crouched and stiff beside the sleeping dragon. Her breath is altering. Her shuttered eyes snap open. Her eyes gaze into mine. There is a moment of shock between us as our spirits reel from one another. Her eyes contain a layered brilliance, and she thrashes the long curve of her tail in a sudden reflex. I stagger backwards, using the staff to hold me up. As the base of the staff thuds to the ground, the topaz base lights up once more, and then the moonstone bud at the tip flares into a deep brilliance, emanating a note like a chanted sound that echoes throughout the cavern. The dragon fixes her attention upon the moonstone. She listens, engaged in a communion that goes beyond my senses. I can see the softening of the wild shock in her eyes. Her spirit is being called back into service. Her remembrance of the ancient vows of the dawn being transmitted through the moonstone. She turns her eyes upon me. She is wondering who I am, who I truly am. The moonstone note is filling the cavern, and we are bathed in its glow. With a sudden rush of awareness, I know why I am here, why I have come, and the ancient intention that I have shielded from my awareness, even as it infused my every movement. I am here to connect the old paths of the moon with the golden dawn of the sun. Will you fly and show me the amethyst gate that connects the two? She knows the old passage through the amethyst gates, the path that has not been tended in a long time, that has fallen into disrepair. It is a long time since anyone asked her to fly the old paths, yet she was born for this. She shifts towards me, her claws scraping the cavern floor. She speaks in a rumbling and archaic tone. It is possible. I can feel that it is possible once more. We shall not be hindered. Through you, the stars, the moon, the sun are aligned to this moment in space and time. It is a portal of awakening. This is the essence of the amethyst gates. I am born to serve this possibility. I also serve this and no other. She nods her great head, her brow coming level with mine. I move towards her and touch her, brow to brow. It is time to fly. I climb up onto her back. Her scales are slippery as glass. With the raising of her wings, there is suddenly no ground beneath us, no walls, no mound, no surrounding forest. We are aloft in the vast skies of the sunrise. We are blasted by icy wind, diving in a blue sky with the moon hanging in the west, the rising sun in the east. I can feel the dragon weaving with violet pathways and how the atmospheres alter every time we cross one. All at once we are caught into a flare of violet, and the airs are full of pearlescent dragonflies, guiding us in a dramatic ascent. The violet path with its sentinel dragonflies is arching into space, this pathway down through which travellers have arrived on beams of ancient sunlight. This is the grace of an old communion. The dragon flies the violet path with the great beats of her wings. Her body is bound for its destined path, all the myriad pathways branching and infinite, lacing the skies. The sun casts her glow along the trail, drawing us into a radiance beyond. Before us are the amethyst gates. They stand on the threshold between the blue skies of Earth and the expanse of space, the sun and the stars. A tapering carved magnificence, they tower over us. The dragon lands at the foot of the gate, and I twist around to face the pale moon hanging in the west. The moonstone bud once again begins to glow at the tip of the staff. I hold it forth and witness it beginning to unfold, blossoming into a cradle of moonstone petals. I see it draw forth the light of the moon, summoning that faint pearly presence across the vast distance of the skies and absorbing its luminosity within. I feel the surge of all the ancient memories of moonlight, the old paths of magic that have held otherworldly hope through long aeons of darkness. Then the moonstone flower folds closed once more, a bud throbbing with mystery. There is a grating sound, immense and booming, as the amethyst gates begin to swing open. We pass through the ancient gates. The dragon ascends with the great beat of her wings, now tracking a golden pathway. I cling to the glassy ridges of her neck. We are entering the halls of the sun. There is a spare loveliness, that of an architecture that is ever dissolving into light, yet bears its own diaphanous weight. On all sides, recessed in the fiery mists, are elliptical silver entrances. Beautiful symbols glow and vanish above them. These intricately carved portals mark the vanishings and arrival of those from other stars. I alight from the dragon's back, holding the moonstone staff in my hand. I find myself thumping the topaz base 3 times onto the golden floor in a reverberating message of arrival. The angelic sun elders step forth out of the mists. Theirs is an other-dimensional beauty. Tattooed points of light about their brows and slanting obsidian eyes. They wear golden robes that seem at one with their slender forms. I kneel before them, offering the moonstone staff in outstretched palms. I have brought the moonstone staff, and it holds the light of the moon as she hangs in the west. We have travelled the dragonfly path through the amethyst gate and awoken the old trail of the sun. We wish to walk the pathways of natural illumination once more, and we bring the moonstone staff that holds our long and magical night. With sombre and rapt attention they listen to my words before one of them replies. The sun longs for the moonlit enchantments of the earth. This is a gift for us also. Your journey upon the earth is precious to us and wildly beautiful in our eyes, even as the splendor of our sun realms must be wondrous to you. The arrival of the moonstone flower has long been prophesied amongst us. Will you let me take the staff? I nod mutely and hold out the staff to this graceful elder of the sun. The moonstone is glowing softly, distinct in this sunlit realm. The elder takes the staff in her hands, and with a touch of her radiant palms, the moonstone flares into a deeper glow. And I can hear its mounting chant. It is a language of the moon and the forest. With an intent focus, the sun elder places her hand upon it and pulls it free of its setting in the staff. Slowly the moonstone bud begins to open, as it did at the amethyst gates. From the splayed petals erupts a beam of moonlight, its song now ringing throughout the sun realms. The sun elders watch with steady attention. There is a thundery stillness. Then, in the pause, a fusion begins. It feels as though the whole ethereal chamber shudders as it absorbs the moonlight radiance. The moonstone is shattering into the sunlight, releasing an ancient rainbow vision. The 7 beams of earthly wisdom, crimson, copper, gold, emerald, turquoise, indigo, and amethyst. Out of these the ancient forests are spun. Out of these the mysteries of leaf and bark, water and wind. Out of these the human heart has constructed its unique song, its precious prayer to the universe. Here it becomes a tree. It shoots upward on a sapling stem. Root, stem, and branch, it unfurls into a tree that shines with the light of many worlds, a treasury of earth wisdom ascended to the sun. Golden flowers are forming at the tips of the branches, a gold whose depths shimmer with moony brilliance. Hues of the earth in their ethereal form are hints within. What is this tree? I ask the elders. The blossoms of this tree contain the wisdom of earth, sun, and moon brought together. It is the long-written wisdom of heaven and earth, the inspiration of the golden dawn. It is by their long work and devotion that the peoples of earth have won the coming of the golden dawn. It is their prize, their grace that has called this to them and to the worlds of earth. They do not believe in themselves. They do not realize the great light they have won to their side and the beautiful hearts they have grown within, from which even the stars draw inspiration. You must take these flowers back to earth, the ones that fall to you in these moments as you stand here, and gift them to those you meet. They are the blossoms of the golden dawn. They carry the inspiration of this reality, and one who has touched one of these blossoms cannot forget the light that they have seen. They cannot long return to forgetfulness. I stand under the tree, turning around and around, my face upturned, my arms raised. I feel a brimming ecstasy, a sense of wonder. There is quiet joy in the soul of this tree that brings immeasurable peace and vision to the heart. I find myself praying for the golden blossoms to fall to me so that I might transport them back to the earth. Gently, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The blossoms dislodge themselves from the tree and tumble downward to land all around me. There are 12, there are 13 blossoms. I know that I shall use the petals of these flowers and weave them into the writings of the Deerskin book. The very pages shall shine with their light. Thus they may touch as many hearts as possible, and their influence will spread. This book, its essence, is the golden dawn. May it transmit that light. I gather the blossoms with care into the deerskin pouch. At my side, shutting the flap over their brilliance, I look up to the elders and bid them farewell. The earth has arisen into the golden dawn, and this is her wisdom. The elders nod their beautiful heads, the tattooed lights at their brow glinting, their obsidian eyes fathomless. I turn to the dragon and climb onto her back. We fly to the amethyst gates. They open for us as we approach, their statuesque forms swinging open. Down we plunge, along the violet path through the skies of earth. We fly surrounded by the dragonflies. Soaring over the forest canopy, the dragon beats her wings in a final descent. We alight beside the mound in the forest. Coming up the slope towards us is the Moonstone Elder. The dragon snorts and wafts her great wings. Thank you, I tell her, and I know that she shall attend now to the dragonfly pathways as the elemental ways fill with their old power. She rises into the skies, and she is caught up in shafts of violet flame, a dazzling shadow ascending into the sun. She shall now be guardian to the amethyst gates. for any who would wish to travel. The dragon elders meant that the star paths of violet, sapphire, silver, and gold remain open and available. It is once again all that it is meant to be, the Moonstone Elder tells me. I follow the elder to a deerskin tent at the edge of the forest beside the mound. I duck through the entrance, and the elder sits down beside the fire. She reaches inside a wooden chest, and she offers me an object wrapped in faded silk. I unravel the silk, and within is a rattle. It is made of worn, golden rawhide. The elder speaks. Within the rattle are shards of rainbow moonstone that sound when the rattle is shaken. It evokes another time. I gift you with the healing temple of the Moonstone land. Here we practiced the ways of balance. Here we taught, and here we learnt. It is a rattle that holds the soft golden voice of earth. It holds the blessings of the ancestors. They of old dance. They were the 13 flames of the mountain temple, the blue crystal ghost dance of the land. Your work is a continuum of theirs. We entrust you with the task of going forwards, of carrying this work into the future. And so it is, Tarathian o Rithkian Atsera Tan Erithye. So much love. May these words bless your path of the earth and the stars in this week to come. And with so much love, I shall see you next time. Farewell for now.